Running will wear out my knees and spine and give me arthritis. Well, that's what my mum used to tell me anyway. So is this actually true? Does running cause arthritis in your knees and spine? Well, this is exactly what we're going to go through in today's video. Today we're going to discuss a research paper that was done where they got a load of 50 plus Runners Association runners. They compared them against non-runners. They age matched them, so they were obviously similar ages to do a comparison against. They took x-rays that were 5 years apart of obviously the knees and the spine to do a comparison of before and after. They were looking obviously for the degeneration that occurs in the joints, and they were looking the differences between the runners and the non-runners to see if there was an actual difference between arthritis levels in runners versus non-runners, and to see that over time as well. So what did they find? Well, they did find that there was degeneration. However, the degeneration between both groups was the same. There was no real differences between each group, which highlights that runners versus non-runners don't wear their joints out any quicker, any faster. It's not down to the running itself. It's just a matter of a time thing. And we do know that arthritis and degeneration of tissue and joint is something that just occurs with time. And yes, it can be influenced by activity, but it's not as simple as the more you do, the more load you do, the more you'll wear this out. Now, someone will always say, but I've ran and my knees are wrecked, or I've run and I've got a bad back, so therefore it must cause it. Well, obviously there's always going to be outliers in research. There's always going to be someone whose arthritis levels might have increased, but in both groups the same. And it's not as simple as being able to look at an individual. You've got to kind of understand whether or not they would have had it anyway if they hadn't ran, or maybe they'd have been worse if they hadn't ran. But also there could be other factors that are involved as well. Obviously there are genetic factors and lots of other elements that are important when it comes to degeneration of joints and so on. The key really is to make sure to minimize the risk of injury and possible arthritis levels in runners, is to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row. So obviously this means that you've got to have the correct footwear. You've got to alternate your footwear, which has been shown to be good for injury prevention as well. You've got to make sure you've got good running technique, so you're not overstriding, and obviously you've got the right cadence and all these other factors. You've also got to make sure you're strong enough to tolerate the loads and your muscles are performing well. So strength training obviously can be very important to minimize the risk as well. You also want to have a good periodized plan. So you don't want to just go out and run and start just running more and more and more and more, doing too much too soon, because again, this will increase the risk of injury and possibly in the longer term create more degeneration. So it's important to make sure that you have an actual plan, which is why running clubs are very good, because they obviously can monitor this and advance you accordingly. Now, if you want any more information on things like this, such as how would you get stronger with regards to being a runner, then I've got articles on this written in my blog, and you can go out and check that on my website. Obviously, the other alternatives are that you can actually have a physio session where we can screen you for technique things, for range of movement, for strength, and obviously give you targeted elements for any issues you've got. Any biomechanical faults could be improved upon as well. And these things are more important than the running itself. So as long as you have all of these things going well, then your risk will be no more than anyone else. But if you have poor footwear, poor technique, poor biomechanics, no strength, and you progress too much too soon, yeah, you're going to have problems. So that's where the caveat of this research will obviously be limited, because they did compare proper seasoned runners who obviously would have had all this nailed on. So anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.
Perfect.